There we go. Okay, let's do a check and see if you can hear me, if you can see me. I would greatly appreciate, just let me know, yes, you can see me, yes, you can hear me. Uh, and we can go on from there. So good evening, everybody. Let me see, any luck? Can you see me? Can you hear me? All right, fantastic. Thank you, Utah Mike. Let's get back up here. My mouse died just before we started. You know, I tell you what, lately it's just no luck whatsoever. So unfortunately, there we go. Now I can find it. But having a really hard time this evening. So forgive the computer, but forgive me too. Patty's Garden, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. You were the first. Unbelievable. Scott Hummer usually is. Good evening, Scott, as well. And then let me see. Whoops, I lost that little bar. Where is that bar? Doggone it. Oh, this is going to prove to be a difficult evening without my mouse. There we go. Laura Mannion, good evenings. And Sue Me. Let me see. So Laura just finished reading Schlichter's book, The Attack. Too plausible / possible. Lots to learn from these books about our challenges and vulnerabilities. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Laura, you blew my cover, because that's what we're going to be reading for our next month, for our fiction. We're going to break away. I know Mad Mick gets introduced in this book. God, what a great character he is. But I think this is so compelling, and I think it's going to come to fruition very, very soon. So I want to get this in the list, and we will get this out there so you all can see it and heed it. Oh man, what a powerful book. That's going to be our book for September. So thank you for bringing that up, Laura, because you can tell the others, hey, this is worth it or this is not worth it, whatever. I have an audio book going at the moment. Is from Sumi, and I've lost that little thingy again. God, I wish I had my mouse, but my mouse is one of those USB chargers that instead of a battery now, and it doesn't. When I hook it up, it doesn't scroll. But when I roll over, I can move it, by moving the mouse. Let me see. Patty's Garden, I already said. Utah Mike, Suzanne Goulet, Kaylin Strain. Good evening, Kaylin. Kaylin just did an unboxing here of her last order of Thrive Life, and she got in on it as well. So congratulations to you for getting that. At least that's the last one of hers that I watched. Triple G Farms, good evening. It's nice to see you. Hopefully you're home and not out on the road. Little Lone Pepper. And let me see anybody else. All right, well, it's looking good. So, Leslie G, good evening. Nice to see you as well. We're going to give it a couple of minutes here. We'll get in. What I want to do is, I don't like giving away the plots of these books. Heather Ruth, good evening. Good to see you. I really don't like giving away the plots of the books. I don't mind giving away some of the learnings, some of the key learnings that are in them. I don't mind mentioning the key characters. But what I really want, these guys they put so much work into writing these superior books. I don't want to give you the book, okay, for free. I want you to read the book. But I'm going to give you some key takeaways from the book to encourage you to go get it and read it. And, that's when you buy these books, that's what allows people like Mr. Franklin Horton, and we have interviewed him when we did his other series. And so there's an interview with him back in the back, very supportive author, really supportive of the community. In this book, we branch off into another group, into another series, the Mad Mick series. So this one has 5 volumes, and then Mad Mick, I believe, has 5 books. But, oh, gosh, such great authors. They put all this work into it. I don't want to deprive them, nor do I want to rob them of the sale of a book. It's very important we support these authors because they give us so much. So I don't want to give away the plot, because when I give away the plot, you don't buy the book, okay? But I want you to buy the book. I want you to have this in your I want you to have this in your library so that you can go back and refer to it. So let's take a look at some of the major characters. We already know Grace. Grace is the Ole Miss student who was there when the terrorist attacks started, which is kind of another reason why, Grace is experiencing what we think is going to happen here. And so, she, her dad, who is Robert Hardwick, who is a prepper and a SHTF novelist, has created this locker for her. Think of it as one of those, what do they call them? Storage facilities with the roll up, grate and everything, where you can put stuff inside and then lock it up. So she had locker number 9. Her dad had everything, basically a get home collection of everything in that locker. And so the good thing about that book is it goes through a pretty good detailed list of what all he left in the locker for her and how she uses it as she goes along. And then in this book, of course, she's met up with Tom and his mother, and her father has met her, and everything, they've used a ham radio, a long distance ham radio, HF, from another prepper friend. So because her dad is an author in the prepper world, he has made a lot of contacts so that he has checkpoints for her to go to on the way home. And she's run into a couple of these. And now she's with Tom and his mother. What's her name? Shalane. I forget her name. It's a weird name. I don't think I could pronounce it. And so his father's come down. He's going to go help another friend, but they have made up. So now Grace and her friend, Tom, who is the lady's son, and he's has a disability. So he's in a track wheel chair type of a thing. So think of it as a wheelchair with tank treads instead of wheels. And he's also got some weapons mounts mounted on this tracked wheelchair. But Tom is going to go with her to help her get home to where she lives in Virginia. At this point, there's almost 3 different stories going on in the book. Okay, so there's a story of Grace and Tom making their way back to the homestead in Virginia. There's the story of Grace's mother and her younger brother, Blake, who were left behind because she had surgery recently. She's recuperating at home and has a healthcare provider. And the healthcare provider's name is Leslie. So Leslie's taking care of Teresa, and then Blake's there with his mother. And Teresa has a grandson, Dylan. And so Dylan and Blake evidently are of approximately the same age. They play together and do a lot of things together. So that's the next story that's intertwined into this book. The third one is Robert goes off to help his friend who has the ham radio station, and they are basically coming under probing attacks and everything else. So you got these 3 different things that are going on all at the same time. And then there's an introduction of a 4th one because we get introduced to Mad Mick and his daughter. And so that kind of starts its beginning of, what do you call it when you take a rope and you put another rope inside of it and it becomes one? Gosh, I forget. But anyhow, they're starting to intertwine Mad Mick into this series. And Mad Mick, oh man, I tell you what, he is a combination of Jonathan Wick and MacGyver. So if you can imagine a MacGyver-Wick combination in one character, he is a machinist, he's an inventor, a creator, but he's also a super spook. So, there's all kinds of different things like that. Just really phenomenal. Then, of course, Teresa, Grace's mother. Leslie is the widow who's living off of a disability check. She's taking care of Teresa. But she has a daughter, Debbie, and Debbie is addicted to drugs, and Debbie's boyfriend, Paul, and they get intertwined into it. And that's going to be one of our key learning lessons that we have here. Congressman Honecker is the one who is attacking, basically usurping control over in the area where Robert is. So that kind of gives us up with most of the characters that are going to be in this book. And then you've got Mad Mick's daughter, Barb. Okay. So Barb sounds like my kind of a lady. I mean, she's grown up in her father's. His real name is Connor, to give you an idea. He's a mad Irishman. But gosh, she's my kind of lady. She knows how to shoot, fight, scoot. She can do almost everything. So, tell you, we've got a couple of real hardcore women who really have been trained well and who have a lot of capability and a lot of experience in this book, and it's just really phenomenal. So let's go over some of the key things I want you to get out of this book, and then we're going to do the drawing that I promised that I was going to do a little while ago. So Heather Ruth brings up the fact that he does have a solar charger for his wheelchair. However, it takes about 9 hours of sunlight on his battery charger to give him 9 hours to give him 1 hour's worth of mobility. So if he uses up that entire charge, then he's going to be down for a while in order to get it recharged enough to where he can be effective again. So it is very realistic in that way. Mr. Horton's very, very realistic in the fact that it's not going to be a simple 1-for-1. You aren't going to have this charging unit hanging off the back of your wheelchair and be able to power your vehicle like you would a house. Okay, it's just not going to work that way. You need a lot more than that. Laura Mannion, I need to clear off a couple of shelves for my CWP book collection. I tell you what, we've gotten some really good ones, haven't we? So anyhow, let's take a look at some key preparedness lessons out of the book. Number one, if we take a look at Grace, if we take a look at Barb, if we take a look at Robert, Tom, his mother, and all these characters, the one key thing that comes out is training, skill sets, knowledge, and abilities. So the time to learn, hello, Tuck by V1, welcome. The time to learn what you need to learn is not at the moment you need to learn it. You need to learn it ahead of time, and then you need to practice it. I was just watching another, and gosh, I need to write down their name, Survival Dispatch. Love Survival Dispatch. He's got an ex-CIA guy on there. Last night, they interviewed Sarah Adams, or she was part of the panel. And then Khalid Mohammed is a U.S. very friendly Pakistani who's still living in Pakistan and feeds us with all kinds of information. But the discussion this evening was, about making sure you know what you're going to do before you do it, and then having the tools. Knowing how to do it, knowing what to do is far more important than having the tools. If you know what needs to be done and how to do it, then acquiring a tool makes it a lot easier. If you have a tool and don't know how to use it or don't know how to apply it, that's going to be extremely difficult. Prepper for the Ages, good evening. Welcome, good to see you. So number one, make sure you prioritize what it is you need to learn, and find somebody who knows what they're talking about to teach you. Seek out the experts, and there are some great people out there who really are good at what they do. I'm kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none. My specialty is signals intelligence and code breaking. So, in a post-apocalyptic world, that's not something that's really, really going to be a high demand item. So I've tried to do a whole bunch of other things. Probably the closest to what I did professionally would be ham radio. So, Kilo Juliet 5 Hotel Echo Fox and Whiskey Sierra Echo Delta. 742 is my GMRS call sign. So anyhow, so communications is my strength. I would say if I have one. The rest of it's been a lot of acquisition, a lot of studying, a lot of reading. That's why we have teams of people. That's why we get together. We can depend upon each other to fill in the shortcomings. Where I have shortcomings, so I want friends around me who have strengths where I fall short. Likewise, I'm going to have a strength where they fall short. So and strength is relative. Strength only means that I'm better at something than they are, or their strength is only that they are better at something than I am. My weaknesses, gosh, medicine, herbal medicine, gardening. Gosh, what else? There's too many. There's too many. But anyhow, okay. The second thing I want you to get from it is the importance of a get-home plan. Okay. Remember that Grace is at college, so her dad has prepared for her a get-home plan. And he's got maps. He's got it all mapped out for her. He's got waypoints. He's got check-in points. They've got a plan that whenever she comes upon a mileage sign, one of those green signs that says next town 147,000 miles, she is to write on the other side of it her initials and the date time group. Okay, so that he knows he can look in the area. So as long as he doesn't see anything, once he sees one, he can start looking for her in between where the last one was signed and the next one was not. So he knows that that's the general vicinity of where she stopped, or where the whole thing stopped. Hello, Ohio Valley Prepping. Good evening. So make sure you have a get-home plan. Who are you going to communicate with? How are you going to communicate? How will you pass on information? What are the waypoints? How do you check in? How do you let people know what's going on? Excuse me for 1 second. I don't know if you can hear my wheezing or not. I can. Community and trust management and picking your group. Remember that Teresa. Teresa is at home recovering from surgery. So they hire this widow that they think they can trust. She's got a kid the same age as Blake, and it's her grandkid, but there's a kid there. So there's an awful lot in common. So they figure they can trust her. Now, Robert goes away. While he's away, Teresa, I think it is, Leslie says, hey, they've got all this food stored up and everything else, and my poor daughter, the drug addict, is starving to death. I'm going to take her some food. So she takes her some food. Well, what does the boyfriend say? Well, there's got to be more. So they come back, and all of a sudden, now you have an intrusion with no protection inside the house, okay? So watch who you trust. Vet them. Know that. And then the other thing is, no sharing of information outside the facility, no matter what. You've got to know, and part of the process I have and who is welcome here is, do you have other family members? There's one guy that he and I have been friends for 20 years. And I know his best friend is another guy. And I said, look, this is how it goes. If it comes down to it, you can come, but it's you, not him. I don't want him here. And are you okay with that? And if you are, here's my list of things and I'm going to turn my list into a book. But here's my rules. Here's the things I want you to bring with you. And here's everything else. So this is what we're going to do. I had another friend I've known for about 20 years, fishing buddy, as a matter of fact. He's a professional fisherman, so he's taught me how to fish. But he is a handyman. And I had invested in some less than stellar shelving. So all the weight of my food products were causing a bow in my shelving unit. So I said to him, hey, come on over. I would like for you as a handyman to do me a favor and cut me some wood, some shelving, some planking, reinforce all my shelving units so that I'm good to go. And then we were about ready to go into that room, and I said, I want you to know There's only 5 living human beings who have ever been in this room. You're going to be number 6. Nobody knows this room exists, and I don't want anybody else to know that this room exists. So please, And so he said, okay. So he went in, he did the shows and everything else. Then we had a meeting with our group, our business networking group, the following Thursday. And he says, you aren't going to believe what Lee has. And boom, right out there in front of 40 people, So you never know. So please be cautious in how you select people, who you invite, vet them, make sure that you don't share too much information. Never share all the information. Never, ever share all your information. Always have something where you can have some sort of a backup. So that is overall community and trust management. Resource and security, or resource security. So how do you protect? Remember I said, don't let them know where everything is or what all you have. So how do you separate those out? How do you have a safe room, let's say, where you can go to? And there's stuff in there to protect you that people can't get into, and there's enough stuff in there that under lock and key for you alone or for you and your family in case the crowd turns against you. Or do you have a cache out in the backyard, let's say in a sealed bucket dug out, buried somewhere? Or do you have it hidden, let's say, inside your 55-gallon water drum? Or how are you going to protect those resources so that if one resource is found, they haven't found all of your resources? So make sure you have some sort of a resource security plan and divvied up into different areas, locations, priorities, and things like that. There's a fantastic movie, and it's called Chaos in Year Zero. It's available on Amazon. It's available on YouTube. It's available on YouTube. It was made in 1962 during the height of the Cold War era, right there just before the Cuban Missile Crisis. And they're out of town when LA gets nuked. They're on their way to vacation. They have a trailer behind them. And so he's telling the family, we're going to bury all this different stuff in different spots. He says, now, remember, if somebody demands something from you, you can tell them that you have food and stuff stored, but go in the reverse order of where we buried them, because they've got, so the first one is fairly close to their place, and then they go successfully further away from where they are. That last one is the farthest away from where their, let's call it shelter is, okay? So that's okay to give that one away. And then if they want more, they're successfully starting to move in. But this is also a delaying tactic to give other people time to defend against that. So in the book, one of the things that gets stressed is, how do you secure your resources? Then adaptability and limitations. Let me tell you something. We've got somebody who's physically disabled in Tom. And what he is capable of doing as a shift from being able to depend on his legs, he has some other strengths that he can rely upon, because as you know, he's playing a zero-sum game here, where as the legs get weaker, the arms and torso get stronger. And so there's things that you can do. So how do you adapt yourself? And if you can't adapt yourself, how do you make tools that make it adaptable for you? And the best tool in the entire book is got to be Tom's wheelchair. Only it's wrong to call it a wheelchair. We got to call it a track chair. Okay, so make sure you have some sort of adaptability, tools, capability, people that make up for your shortages. It just turns out that Grace and Tom turned out to be a perfect couple as far as a survival couple. They just really, really do everything they can to really get really come along. Vigilance in a crisis. There's threats all around you all the time. Like I said, you've got basically a caregiver who becomes a threat. And then, of course, Dylan's stepfather, Paul, and his mother. His mother is a druggie, doesn't really care about Dylan. Now, Dylan still cares about her, but he really wants Paul gone. He thinks he's the scum of the earth. He is, but so you've got to pay vigilance to, okay, let's take a look at Dylan here. If I do something to Paul that's going to enamor him towards me, right? So it's going to win. It's going to be basically meeting an unmet need, and that is getting rid of a threat to him. On the other hand, if I do something to his mother, right, how is he going to react to that? He will react totally different if I do something to his mother than if I do something to Paul. Okay? So you have to be able to understand how those things work and be very vigilant on the actions you take and how they affect other people in their relationship to you, whether that's going to enamor them towards you or whether it's going to cause them to be a threat towards you. So those are the two things you've got to consider. Let me see what Tammy says. Tammy says, I need to go through some of my stuff and add dates with permanent marker like Lee. Lee is so good. When he shares his items, he is adding to his supplies. He writes on everything. There and let me thank you for that compliment there, Tammy. But let me tell you, I do things a little bit different than everybody else. And to me, it really doesn't make any difference. When I started this a long, long time ago, I think I actually, the first ones I started dating with a permanent marker, a Sharpie, was probably back in the 1980s, 1981. And I had my 5-gallon buckets of lentils. And at that time, I had never cooked lentils, didn't know what they tasted like, but everybody said you needed to have 5 gallons of lentils. I had 5 gallons of lentils. So I put the date that I sealed them on the lid of that 5-gallon bucket in Mark's lot. So, yeah. So I keep plenty of Mark's lots around. So for me, it was the date of acquisition. Now, if you're rotating properly, it really doesn't make that much of a difference whether you put the date of acquisition or the date of expiration, okay? Because you're always going to take the oldest first and move it forward, right? And use your oldest first. So we've got, so I put down the day, month. Well, as a matter of fact, here's some stuff I've got right here getting ready for my acquisition, so on the other side, I haven't done this one yet. Okay, so I haven't done this one yet. That's a brand new purchase. But these two I got Tuesday morning. So they're already marked 8/25. So I put the month that I acquire them on the can. And that way I have something to give me an idea of, for FIFO, so that the first in becomes the first out. Okay, let me make a note mark here where I am in my notes. We're talking about vigilance in a crisis, and we have enough people here now to where I am going to do the giveaway for book 1. Okay, remember that Mr. Horton promised us that he would, hello, Kane Corso, welcome. Mr. Horton promised us that he would send a copy of Volume 1, Locker 9, autographed to the winner of the drawing. I didn't do the drawing, so we're going to do that drawing tonight. So we're going to go here, and we're going to, let me see here. I think it's been so long since I've, so we're going to share screen. And we're going to go with giveaway tool. And so we have the giveaway tool. So what I want you to enter into the comments here in order to be eligible to win the book is Grace, Grace with a capital G. I hope you can see it here. I've got it written right here, capital Grace. So just go ahead and all you need to enter is once. It doesn't do any better to get more than once. But just if you would, in the comments, if you would like a chance to win the book, just put capital Grace And we'll give you a couple minutes to get that put in there. But thank you for that, bringing that up on how to mark your products so that you know which ones to bring out and which ones you can leave in there for a little bit longer. And it's just part of that FIFO system. Another thing, I wish I had known this a long time ago, because it didn't become as obvious until I got as much stuff as I currently have. When you have a wall, okay, so here's your wall, and you have a bookshelf, don't put your bookshelf this way to the wall, because then it's very difficult to put things back at the back of that bookshelf, okay? However, if you can put it this way to the wall, then you have a back area back here where you can load up and push to the front, and it becomes a lot easier. So if I had it to do all over again, I would have all of my bookshelves this way to the wall instead of this way to the wall. That's just another piece of advice that I've learned over time that I'll share with you, that if you can do that, that's going to be far, far better for you. Okay. So Tuck by V1 does the same thing. He does date of acquisition like I do instead of a date of expiration. Okay. We'll give you one more minute. Don't forget to put in that word GRACE, G-R-A-C-E, with a capital G. And I tell you what, man, it's getting kind of scary out there as far as stuff that's going on. Sure, I'm glad we're focusing on how to be prepared. Okay, everybody's in. Okay, we're going to cut it off, and we're going to go ahead and go down here. And we're going to start collecting comments. We have 12 entries, and so we're going to do the drawing. Winners, Heather, Ruth, yay! So Heather, if you'll do me a favor, send me your mailing address and send that to coldwarprepper@outlook.com. coldwarprepper@outlook.com. And we'll see if we can't get a couple more books out here to give away, because I love doing these giveaways. I love people getting stuff that just I like being able to share with people. So thank you very much. Congratulations, Heather. Don't forget, send me send me your email, coldwarprepper@outlook.com. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're going to go. I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and we're going to go here. And so now the next thing is preparedness of family members. I fail here. I think Helen thought I was crazy when we got married, and she found out that I was a prepper. And she saw all the stuff that I had. I don't think she was even kind of halfway convinced about preparedness. We got married the day I was supposed to sign out of my unit at Goodfellow Air Force Base, the 701st MI Battalion. And so I was supposed to sign out on Monday, the 16th of January, but instead of signing out, we got married. I stayed 2 extra days, and then I left for Germany. Isn't that great? Get married and go to Germany. But she joined me a little while later, a couple months later. When she got to Germany, we were at a remote intercept site called Detachment Wobeck. So we were up on top of a hill in the Elm Forest, overlooking the 3rd Shock Army from Group of Soviet Forces, Germany. And so we were listening in on the 3rd Shock Army all the time. And because there were only 32 Americans and we were inside that exclusion zone, she had to have what we called a NEO bag. And NEO stood for non-combatant. E was evacuation, and O was order. So a non-combatant evacuation order bag. So basically we had to keep, and they inspected on a quarterly basis too. We had to have a kind of like a suitcase or a duffel bag with all of the important papers, changes of clothes, a little bit of food, water, that kinds of stuff. So that if the commies came across the border, she would immediately go to the detachment headquarters And we had a 32 passenger bus, and all of the civilians who were in our spouses and children would be on that 32 passenger bus, and they would start heading immediately towards Frankfurt, and they would be flown out of the country. Now, yes, non-combatant evacuation order, NEO is what we called it. When she had to have basically a bug out bag, and it was, almost ordered by the Army, then she kind of became a little bit of a prepper, and never has become really, really good at it. I did take her out shooting at that time before I turned it in stupidly when they were outlawed. But the first thing that I gave her was my Uzi carbine, and we were at the range. And so she had an Uzi carbine. It weighed about 8 pounds, and 9mm. She pulled the trigger, no major recoil. It was really great. She had a blast with that. Then I gave her my Smith & Wesson Model 59. And I said, now this is a lighter frame, same bullet, but a lighter frame, so it's going to have significantly more recoil. And so I said, so here's how you hold it and everything else. And she held it, and she didn't have a good grip on it. And when she pulled the trigger, it came up, and she got the hammer right in the middle of her forehead. That was the end of her live firing. So I need to get her back out in the range again. Although I did get her out, I took her to a gun store because the pistol that I had bought her, she was in a bad car wreck about 6 years ago, and this bone still hasn't healed. So this arm was fractured in 4 different places, and so this juncture here at the elbow still has not healed. So she didn't have full strength in her left arm. Plus, it severed her bicep. 2/3 of her bicep just hangs, and they said that the pain of reattaching that it's not worth it to reattach it. So she doesn't have any strength in her left arm. So that means that racking a pistol is difficult for her. Well, I wanted to trade in her pistol that I bought her that's never been fired and get her a Smith & Wesson EZ, M&P EZ, because they're a lot easier to rack. And I took her to the store. She was able to rack it, but they wanted like $390 for the pistol, and they were only going to give me $75 for hers. And I paid almost $250 for hers. And I said, nah, we'll just keep hers. I'll give her my revolver instead. But, that's just the way it goes. So yeah, get your family involved. Get them involved in the training. Right now, she's really involved. I found a recipe, and I bought all the stuff for my long-term storage. One of my last shorts was basically how you can take different spices and cooking techniques and take something basic like a beef stew, change it in the flavor profile and so many different things, so you don't have any food fatigue because you're basically changing the flavor profile. So we continuously search for things like that. So today last night, I made basically ground beef bulgogi. And so she says, of all the prepper stuff that I've done, she said the railroad pie is her number 1 favorite. And now the number 2 favorite is going to be this bulgogi. So, which is great because it goes with rice and then carrots and onions and peas. And, it's great. So had it again this evening. But, get them involved that way. Get your family involved. Do some practice runs. Do some training. Get them involved in learning first aid. Get them watching videos, reading books. Right now, as a matter of fact, Helen was reading this when I took it away from her to show you this evening. So get them involved. Make sure that they are as prepared as you are. Know the plan. So, for example, do you have a plan to communicate to each other whether or not it's safe to come into the house after SHTF? And this is something that I got out of a book from Steve Smith, his Stonemont series, where this woman goes up to her grandmother's, and they're Native Americans, goes up to her grandmother's cabin, and the grandmother comes out and just looks up at the sun. And then she looks at the daughter, and she goes back into the cabin. And so the daughter goes in by herself. And so that was the signal. The signal was if the mother looked at the sun, that means it's clear. If the mother had said, come on in, each time she waved come on in is how many bad guys there are inside the house. Okay. So if she said, come on in, there's 3 bad guys in the house. So Do you have that kind of a system worked out? Now, of course, the daughter goes into the house and says, hey, Mom, by the way, I'm here with another person. He's in the woods. I'm going to go get him and bring him in. So if another guy comes in with me, he's okay. Don't shoot him. So, how are you going to have that kind of a communication system in case something happens? So that's another one of those things that comes in critical here in this story, are the communications plans that they have among the family members, and how they're going to communicate with each other to give information about whether or not it's safe to come in and who's helping them and all these kinds of things. Anticipating opportunistic threats. So both Paul and Honecker exploit the crisis to target prepared individuals. So you as a prepper are going to be a target, whether you want to be or not. So make sure you are prepared for that. Understand that the mere fact that you have something is going to make you a target for people who don't have anything and want what you have. Which is why I say there are certain things you can do, like go to the Goodwill or whatever, buy some clothes a little bit too big, so that if you answer the door, and don't, you can mess yourself up a little bit, but make it appear that you're suffering like they are. Don't make it look like you're eating regularly. One of my favorite things is Helen eats oatmeal. I don't. So she almost threw out an empty tub today. I said, no, I'm saving those. And so why am I saving empty rounds of oatmeal? Because when SHTF happens, if somebody comes to my door, I can pour a little bit of my oatmeal into the bottom of that round tub and hand them an almost empty container of oatmeal. Now, it's going to be far more believable to them for me to say, look, this is all I can spare, than if I pour that oatmeal into a Ziploc bag and give them a Ziploc bag full. They're going to think, if he's pouring it into a Ziploc bag, it came out of a larger container. But the psychological effect of, if I give them an almost empty container, say, this is all I got, I'm sorry, I wish I could do more, but this is it. When they see that it's the dregs of your container, yes, they're going to believe that. So start thinking about things like that. How are you going to avoid opportunistic threats towards the people around you? How are you going to put up your defenses? How are you going to defend what you have? They aren't going to burn it down, because if they burn your place down, then they don't get anything, right? But they are going to try to take it. They'll take pot shots at you. So how are you going to reinforce things inside your home? So anticipate that there are going to be malicious people out there. Anticipate that there are going to be people out there who are going to want to take advantage of you. Anticipate the fact that there are going to be people who will betray you if they don't feel that they're an equal part of your group, okay? So just like, not Teresa, Linda, I think it is. Leslie. So just like Leslie, okay, if they think that they can do something for their own home, their own family members, and do it at your expense, they will. So how do you mitigate that? How do you prepare for that? How do you keep that from happening? So things to think about. The value of having skilled allies. And like I said, find people who have strengths where you are weak, okay? You can learn from them over time. You can depend on them. For example, that one guy I told you he can't bring his friend, he's a 27th degree black belt in like 3 different martial arts. And so he's teaching me how to bow fight, and of course, cane fighting and other things. So we can help each other. And as a matter of fact, he and I have started a group. We call it MOF, or MAOF, Martial Arts for Old Farts. And so, but he's just a little bit younger than I am. But as a matter of fact, he's coming over tomorrow. But how do we get people together who have different strengths so that we can interrelate? Now, the other couple that I have that are coming over, he is a retired nuclear submarine commander, and just But I tell you what, this guy, he is one of the smartest people I've ever met. He's also a co-facilitator in RCIA with me. And that picks up this Sunday, as a matter of fact, our conversion classes. We start teaching those again this Sunday. Just great guy. And his wife is just a superior woman. So, and she and Helen get along extremely well. So, and one of the things that you've got to do is when you put out your rules, how are we going to do things? When you're locked up inside a house, let's say that under, the 7-10 rule, I hope you remember that. Every 7 hours, radioactivity degrades by 90%, so only 10% will remain after 7 hours. So after 7 hours, you got 10%. After another sevenfold of that, so after 49 hours, then you've got 1%. Then after 7 times 49, or that's where we came up with the 2 weeks back in the Cold War that you had to stay inside, then you have 1/1000% of the radiation that you had at the very beginning, okay? So that means we're going to be locked up inside a house, 6 or 7 people that have not been in the house together, right? They're going to be kind of like that honeymoon period. They're going to be in the idiosyncrasies. There are going to be habits. There's going to be things that people aren't going to like. They're going to have to get accustomed to. So during that getting acquainted period, how do you resolve conflict? How does somebody say, I need private space now, leave me alone, and we've got to be able to mark those things out so that people can coexist together. So that's understanding that your skilled allies bring with them personalities. And so not all personalities mesh perfectly. I mean, how many times do you squabble with your spouse? And you're not even confined with your spouse 24 hours a day for 14 days, like we will be if there's fallout. So think about how you're going to prepare that. Think about how you're going to set those rules for getting along with people. And then mental resilience. And this was a question. Prepping with Sarge is a fantastic channel. He is a trauma specialist for, I think, Charleston, South Carolina first responders. And, he gives some great advice on mental resilience and preparing yourself mentally. Although, let me tell you if what this book is projecting, and this is, Kurt Schlichter worked with Sarah Adams, the CIA targeter against Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab and ISIS and all these other groups. And so what he wanted to do was he wanted to put all the warnings of his predictions of what's going to happen in a fictionalized narrative. So although this is written as fiction, think of it as being as nonfiction. It's his projection of how it's going to work out. If it works out this way, man, we need to start doing a lot of mental preparation now. Just imagine what the people went through in Israel on October 7th. Think about what happened to you. Where were you mentally? Where were you emotionally? Say 11 a.m. on September 11th, 9/11, 2001. Think about all those things and how it's going to have an impact on, will you be in a state of emotional crisis? Will you be stupefied? Will you be able to immediately adapt and go back to your training and say, hey, this is what we need to do? Because that's the advantage of training. The advantage of training is you bypass your brain and it becomes a motor skill instead of a thought skill. Because if you think too much, you're not going to react the way you should. So you need to make sure that you have those autonomic skills trained so that your reaction is automatic. Okay. Let me see what Tammy says here. Okay, so Tammy says, my husband recently got a crossbow. We need to do some practice with it. I am not sure if I have enough strength to pull it back, but I will definitely give it a try. So one of the things is that they did back in the Middle Ages. I don't know if you have it on your version of the crossbow. I chose not to have a crossbow. I have a longbow. Well, actually, it's a recurve. But the reason is for that very reason. And but having the muscle power to pull that up, because crossbows can be 140, 150 pound draw weight. whereas my recurve is 70 pounds. So let me see here. Thank you, Scott, for putting up Prepping with Sarge's channel. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, he has some great advice on how to prepare yourself emotionally, and it needs to be done. We've got to do that. Grace and her friend Zoe. So in the first book, Zoe gets killed. And so Grace and Zoe leave Ole Miss, and they're heading home. And Zoe, of course, has not had any preparedness training at home. And so she reacts a lot differently to a lot of the situation than does Grace, who has had a lot of preparation. So because of her father. So the more you can do at home, the more preparation you can do, both physically as well as emotionally, psychologically, the better off you're going to be. It is going to be bad. It is going to be bad. And, I think of that line in the Oscar-winning movie Patton, where George C. Scott at the very beginning is standing up there and he's got all his Patton regalia on. He says, when you stick your hands into a mess of goo that a minute before was your best friend's face, you'll know what to do. But that's going to be the reality of what we see coming, is that things that have totally, on a normal basis, would totally offend you, totally put you into a state of panic, totally wipe you out, put you into a state of disgust where you couldn't react. You've got to be prepared, because that's going to be what it is, and you're going to have to be able to react to it. So think of that. Let me see. I would say, my advice would be, now, there was a channel, what was his name? There was a guy who had a knife channel, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I guess he ended up getting divorced and lost his channel, or emotional things happened. He even designed a knife that he had Schrade make for him. And, but anyhow, because of him, I bought my Becker BK7. And I bought the Becker BK7, got it, and I determined that it was more of a machete than it is a knife. It's a 7-inch knife. It's really hefty. And I said, no, this is too much knife for me. I don't want anything that big. My biggest knife is probably, my favorite knife is probably about a 6-inch blade. I don't like big, heavy blades. Heather Ruth convinced me to buy a machete. So I do have a machete now, but it's all because of her. And okay. So just make sure you get yourself mentally prepared for it, and that's what we got to do. Are there any other questions or comments? Hopefully you have read the book. Please get the book. Please add it to your collection. I have a page I wanted to highlight and read to you as a quote. And it says, this is at the beginning of chapter 5. So this is at Arthur Bridges' compound. They got the ham radio operator. And it says, if you introduce somebody, this is talking about another one of those communications things. If you introduce somebody as a friend of mine, it implies that they are part of the circle, or not a part of the circle. But if you say they're a friend of ours, it means that they are a part of the circle, maybe just a different tangent off of it, but everybody can trust them. So mine means they're a friend of mine, but not the group. So they may not have yet been vetted by the group. But if you say they're a friend of ours, then that means everybody can trust them. So I thought that was one of those pieces of communication in here, one of those tips that, that's part of that communications that you need to work for your group as well as for your family in order to be safe and secure. Okay, let me see. Is there anything else here? No, it looks like that was the last comment. Scott's got the last comment. Prepping with Sarge was on with vision preparedness, talking about PTSD and SHTF before your life tonight. Oh, really? Oh, great. Yeah, he's a great guy. I really, really like him. Okay, let me grab my Bible, and we'll bring this one to a close. I think I'm going to subscribe to, although it's $30 a month, to StreamYard because it does give us a lot better quality. It's a lot more dependability, and I can operate it a lot easier than YouTube. So we'll probably be on this menu from now on. Plus, I like the fact that I can highlight people's comments and put them up on the screen and all that kinds of stuff. I will have a link to this book, The Grace Under Fire, as well as a link to this book that we'll be doing for the month of September. Okay, so please, that helps the channel. Remember that when I get money from the sales on Amazon or from you going back and viewing a video a second time, 25% goes to my county food bank. 25% goes to St. Vincent de Paul. That's the organization that I'm in, where we help people who are hungry, having problems with bills and things like that. And 25% goes to my good friend Scott Bedio, who is the local commander for Salvation Army in the area. So 75% of all the money I make on YouTube or Amazon sales gets given away to people who need it far more than I do. So with that in mind, as we close this evening, the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. Well, let's start with verse 23. Speak to Aaron and his sons and tell them, this is how you shall bless the Israels. Say to them. Now we're going to go with what I want to say to you, which is verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Please don't forget, starting Monday is National Preparedness Month. So I'm thinking about having a short every day during the month of September. Just a tip. It may be a regurgitation of something I've already done in the past, but I just want to keep these tips in your mind fresh and in my mind fresh, remind me so that we can get through this, because I think it's going to probably be at the earliest mid-September, probably at the latest December. But we can expect something, some kind of an attack, I think sometime in the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of 2025. So remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. That's how we all will survive. Thank you for being here. Love you all. Don't forget to come back afterwards. Leave a thumbs up, if you will, or a thumbs down, whichever you prefer, and leave a comment so that we get more people to see the overall videos. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Bye-bye.